Welcome to the Dry Gate. Here we are, the home of the Braw Beard and Moustache Championships, but we're not allowed to have one in 2022. But we came up with an idea. So why not have ourselves a bit of a party, a bit of a shindig, and we're inviting you to Braw Cast Live. You'll be able to come along for a night of comedy, music, entertainment, games, a little bit of everything. It's an excuse to all get together, have a drink and a bloody good time. There's going to be some chat on this stage with some amazing guests. We've got Lee Johnston, we've got Calvin Gowan, we've got pro wrestler Jack Jester, we've got Bruce Smart from Pt.1. Listen, get us down here, and of course we've got JJ who's filming. Say hi, JJ.
Hello.
Oh, and so much more, so why not join us on February the 19th? That's a Saturday. Get your tickets right now. What a Christmas present. What a Christmas present. So why not grab them right now? Head over to the website and we're going to see you. We've got the seats. Look, we've got a sofa. All we need. All we need. Bloody New Year! It's 2022 and it's time for Braw Cast on a Friday night, a Sunday night. Already started it and fucked it straight out of the gate. I hope you're well wherever you are. My name's Billy Kirkwood. Welcome to Braw Cast. If you've never watched it before, whether you're watching it on Braw Beard's official Facebook page, whether you're watching it on Twitter, whether you're one of the 3 people that are watching it on my comedian page, or maybe you're listening to the audio form that we pop out each and every week, watching it on YouTube in the future. If it's in the far and distant time, just let me know. Did Jen and Brad get back together? What happens on Braw Cast each and every week? I'll tell you what it is. It's a lifestyle attitude. It's a podcast that's about meeting wonderful and interesting people, regardless of where they're from. Yes, we do celebrated the bearded, gorgeous, hairy MFers, but also everything that comes out from that. We meet some wonderful designers. We have met MMA fighters. We have met barbers, genders, sexes. It doesn't really matter. You're all part of the Braw universe. We've got to meet backstage interviewers, singers, actors, actresses, and so much more. And that's what we bring you each and every week. And as we're heading into 2022, we've got some cool changes up because as well as sitting down, giving folk little mini interviews, we're going to get the opportunity to sit with them, have a laugh, talk about some topics, Q&As, so much more. We're going to be heading on the road. Loads of amazing content coming your way very, very soon. Now, this episode, we thought it'd be a nice way to kick off because as we've got some big and very cool changes coming over the next couple of weeks on Braw Cast, we thought let's take a little dip through the archives, certainly show you some of the best stuff, some of the ones that maybe you haven't seen. So, who do we have in this week's episode? We have got Frank Carino, or DJ Franko, you might know from Limp Bizkit. We've got pro wrestler Big Damo, you might know him as Killian Dain from WWE NXT. We've got Andy Wild. We've got Biker. We've got Lee Johnston on the show. We've got a little bit of everything for you this week. So I think every now and then we might punt out a couple of these best songs because we've got a hell of an amazing archive and you can go and check it all out. You can either head on wherever you get your podcast from, just hit that subscribe button, hit that notification follow button if it's on Spotify. We're on there. We're on iTunes. We're on bloody everywhere. I can assure you that. If you maybe fancy the audio form where you're taking the dugger walk, while you're heading to the gym, anything like that. Or you can head over to the Braw Beard Oils YouTube channel. Now, not only is the broadcast live over there, there is also vlogs, videos, and I can tell you now, there is going to be some amazing content that we're wanting you to get involved with as we kind of spread it out into the Brawverse. I have maybe got a little too excited during this time off, during this Hogmanay New Year period, so I'll try and settle the hell down. My name's Billy. I'm here to let you know all about that. We bring you this podcast free each and every day, including over the YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell as well if you don't mind. That'd be great. Tag a pal, tell a friend. But as well as that, we bring you the podcast free each and every Sunday. And a way you can help us keep it free is by heading over to Broad Beard Oils. They have amazing products on their website, whether it's beard oils, whether it's hats, t-shirts, loads of amazing and incredible things coming in 2022 as well. So why not head over? If you've got that Christmas money, if you opened that card from your Aunt Sadie, who your mum doesn't really used to be a pal, but doesn't really seem to get on the same way with your mum anymore. But, she gives you money in a Christmas card if you have got some extra money in there. Why not treat yourself to something, whether you're male, female, or whatever you want to be, that is something over there for you at broadbeardoils.com. And if you're a hairy and bearded motherfucker like me, who seems to have got more hairy somehow over the Christmas period, you can head over and check some stuff out. Actually, as well as that, this room is going to look a bit different the next time. So we're even changing this. How mad is that? And especially as we're going to be heading out the road. Amazing stuff and exciting stuff coming. But we wanted to treat you with this one, right? So we're going to kick off, and I think it's in grand style because we've been trying to get him on the podcast for a few years, and we finally managed it this year. Only a few months after he left WWE, I should really be able to say that, pro wrestler Big Damo. Now, the cool thing about Damo is it's talking about the evolution of his pro wrestling career, how that can apply to you as well. I think it's interesting. I'm talking about the whole creative process and being optimistic. And I think in these times that we're living in just now, well, we can maybe all do a little bit of that. So we've also got him. We've got Andy Wild, who actually talks about, remaining healthy, remaining motivated and what have you in the gym. Great way to start off 2022. We've also got Paris Visone and we've got Erik Rodgers from Hellooo TV. Now, Paris, as well as being a world-beating, revealed, people absolutely love her musical photography. We're going to talk about the project that they did during lockdown and how that's involved into something else as well. Lee Johnston talks us through the injuries that he sustained on those bikes. I think the boy is positively mental for doing that type of thing, but you can head over and you can check out what's going on with Lee as well, and so much more, a little bit of everything. So I'm going to see you at the end of the video. Let's head over to Past Billy, who's chatting to Damo. I always feel like I need to look this way, even though, I'm going to do one of these one day, and I'm going to do like a high five and hand it over to myself. I'll do that next time. Billy! Hi!
Yeah. But definitely, like, I've had a huge thought about what I want to wear in ring and stuff like that, and like, and it's been crazy because like one of the weirdest parts about my entire time in WWE is like, I multiple different looks, and like when I look back over those 5 years, whereas when I was in the Indies, like the years before that, I literally just wore trunks and boots. I eventually wore knee pads because my knees started getting sore. Well, so then,
and can I say on behalf of everyone that had to watch you wrestle week after week, thank goodness, because I don't know if anyone else is a pro wrestling fan out there. Wrestlers without knee pads is not pleasant to watch. I don't know what it is.
Honestly, so I know that like some people swear by it because they don't like being, the constrictive around the knees. And I understand that, right? Me personally, I just really like being able to rock up to a venue and just wear trunks and boots. I was like, that is really easy. It made my legs look bigger, but then, you start getting knee problems and you're not able to lift as heavy, and then your legs aren't as big. So, knee pads are probably a pretty good idea. So, so I will be wearing knee pads, Billy. Be very happy to know that.
Good to know.
But, it's funny because all these little things, and like, the boots I started wearing when I was the new Killian was with these military attack boots, right? Instead of basic wrestling boots. And I'm actually thinking I'm going to keep them because I actually really liked how they felt. So that's one of those little things that I will carry on, for example, you know what I mean? And like, that's the weirdest part about this whole process is like, my opinions 5 years ago have changed so much to my opinions now. They changed from a year ago, from 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And that's the coolest part about this process. And I'm looking forward to getting in there and restarting this whole thing again, because I know that in a year's time, I'll completely change how I want to present myself again.
Yeah.
So,
you get to be creative again. You get to be
100%.
creative again in a very, very different way.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure you would have been very creative within WWE and what have you. I know can be a collaborative process sometimes, and then sometimes it's not. But you're in control.
There's a creative team, and there's people above them and whatever else. And like, listen, like some people tell you it's the most restrictive thing in the world. For me, it wasn't overly restrictive. I just had to think around things and try, because as I said to you before, you're a character in somebody else's play. You're and that's the difference. You're not Damo anymore. You're Killian. And for me, it took a while to get my head around that. And once I think it took about 6 months really, and once I got to that 6-month part, then I could start finding where I wanted to go. And if you look at my NXT run, that first 6 months, nobody really remembers any of the matches that I had, because I was really trying to find my, what I wanted from this and find my level. It was from about the 5-6 month mark on, we kind of found who we wanted to present ourselves as Sanity, and how I wanted to present myself as Killian. And it's so funny that from there on, my match quality was better, and the stuff I did was better. And there's a lot of reasons for that, not just my own comfort levels, whatever else, but it's just funny that it all coincided. You know what I mean? But yeah, the coolest part about this next step for me is I've got so many ideas, and it's okay, which ones will I use, and which ones will change and evolve and everything else. And I'm really pumped. This next, I guarantee I'm going to probably wear what I'm going to wear my first couple of runs probably won't be what I wear next year, because I'll be like, no, I hate that. Because it's me who decides, and that is very cool. That is one of the weirdest parts of this next step, is it's all on my shoulders. And whether I sink or swim is my fault. You know what I mean? And that's one of the coolest things about this next step. Because while all it's my fault when it's in WWE, there's still a lot of extenuating circumstances as to why something does or doesn't work. Now it's entirely down to me and how I'm going to market myself and how I'm going to make myself look going forward, in ring, out of the ring, everything else. And that's one of the things I'm excited about, as I'm bringing all my experiences with me, is helping everybody else. One thing I will say, so I've been watching a lot of shows with a friend of mine who I respect very much in this industry. And when we were watching, especially on the just outside WWE, right? For example, even on AEW and whatever else, you'll see somebody's doing a backstage segment and they're wearing jogging bottoms and t-shirt as if they could be in bed. And it's so that's how you've chosen to present yourself, because you don't think it's important, but it is important. And me personally, when I was in the Indies, I'd have worn my basketball shorts and a vest, right?
Yeah.
But was that how Big Damo should have been presented? No, it isn't. And it was William Regal said to me, so I was my early run as Killian, I'm wearing jeans, and sometimes it would be the vest, the hoodie, or whatever else. That's the Sanity was meant to be the torn up jeans, whatever. But my trainers were just plain black trainers, and he was like, "Do you think Killian would wear plain black trainers, or would he wear shit kicker boots?" And I was like, "Shit, yes, he'd be wearing fucking motorcycle boots or something." So and it's but until somebody fucking tells you, you'll just, when you're so close to
something, sometimes you can't see it.
100%. So that changes my mind. I'm like, fuck. So I then experiment with multiple different boots, because then you have to find the right ones you can work in, or you can do run-ins in and stuff like that, right? But that's what I want to try and help people going forward, because Killian would wear, I remember I did something for What Culture, and I came out for a run-in with a pair of basketball shorts and a Damo t-shirt, whatever. I remember looking back on, that was terrible. That was Damo the person, not Damo the character, right? And that's what I'm going to try to get in people's heads when I come back, because what we don't understand is our presentation is so important, whether it's that's that interview in the middle of the ring, whether it's a promo backstage, whether it's a promo in your house, right? You're still trying to entertain people who are paying money to come and see you, and you need to be able to differentiate yourself from them in every way possible. Yes, people will try and gravitate towards you because of the who you are, or how they like your wrestling, how they like your style. But if you're rolling in your jammies, right, then you are not separating yourself from anybody. And I was a massive victim of that myself. Not victim. I was a massive co-conspirator. I think it's a better word, not victim. I was definitely at that, and that's something that I want to try and help people. It's a little tiny thing that'll make a massive difference. You know what I mean?
It is important because, like, going from of all people, Jimmy Hart, right? I once heard Jimmy Hart on a show who literally said the phrase, "Dress like a punter, you might as well be a punter."
100%.
I'm probably paraphrasing, but I think it's true. I think it's true. If you are going to be in the joggy bottoms backstage, it's like, why are you in the joggy bottoms? Is it just because you can't be arsed? Is that your kind of character? Even Orange Cassidy, big hit in AEW right now.
He's great.
That's all the character right there. He's not turning. He's turning up in the building and changing straight away. Do you know what I mean? It really is. It's changing something, and we're excited to see what comes from the evolution of Damo. I think going forward, because like you say, there's all these different skills, different place. We were talking earlier before we actually came on about the evolution of people in real life, and we're getting to see a little bit about that because, well, even John McClane in the Die Hard movies evolved. John Wick evolves. Neo evolves. Why wouldn't Big Damo? And I'm putting you in that. That's the Mount Rushmore of action icons.
Wow. I'm in there with 2 Keanu Reeves characters. Jesus, that's
tough.
Mate. That is tough, mate.
I could have put Ted Theodore Logan in there, but I decided not to.
Listen, have you heard the theory that John Wick and the Matrix is actually the same universe?
Yes, and wouldn't that be mind-blowing? Wouldn't that just be, I mean, I'll level with you. I do love this brilliant story I heard, because apparently they shot the movies like that, like John Wick 4, and like he went from Matrix to John Wick.
Is this Pan's Labyrinth?
This is Pan's Labyrinth.
This is Pan's Labyrinth.
It's a
so
new
they filmed it. How do you even do? How are you doing that? Like,
this is from I do DDP yoga. If anyone's interested, I do DDP yoga. Because apparently there's a couple of bits of my body that are way bendier than I realized. But apparently they literally went, is there any chance we can change his look? And they went, no, he's doing John Wick after this, but it doesn't look like Neo. And basically Warner Brothers went, it's long hair and a beard. Shut up. Right. So John Wick's like a huge franchise for us now. But you know something, let's talk about some of the things certainly coming out of WWE. I know we're gonna get back to wrestling. Of course we are. We've had the opportunity to sit down and talk about your origins in wrestling and going from the school and getting all across the pond. But I would love to catch up with you about some of your passions, certainly. Although I've got one last question about Sanity, if I may.
Yeah. By all means.
One of my favorite things was watching Sanity in NXT when Nikki came on board, and I love the sub storyline that Damo was Nikki's best friend in some way, because I couldn't help but notice every now and then she would randomly just give. You'd be there hulking away. She'd be mad as a box of hammers. And then out of nowhere would randomly give Damo the biggest hug, like the biggest bear hug you'd ever seen give Killian. And I remember watching it a couple of times going, is she trying to break him? Is she trying to break him? Working with your spouse is one. Oh God, working with your wife. Oh, that's just nice to say. But how was that? Like, did she ever manage to break you?
So I'll tell you the truth. I've only been broken once in WWE the entire time, and that was by Drake Maverick right at the end. They did a video with us about football, right? About Euro 2020, which was in 2021. Yeah, and it's funny because they had to bin the video because they fired me. But he managed to break me because he started rhyming off these random footballers from my childhood in the 90s, and that was the first time I was broken, right? So in ring with Nikki was hilarious. So we used to hate working together because we have different opinions on wrestling. So we hated it. We tried not to. We worked together once, I think. We worked together a lot when she was getting into the business 2008 or something. Yeah. And we didn't work together for about 7 years or whatever, right?
I don't think we did ever cross paths and
no, not in ICW or anything.
No, like that, I ever remember.
But once on a tiny show in Ayrshire, we did like a mixed tag, me and Nikki Storm, as she was at the time, against Grado and Viper, and which is honestly fun match, whatever else. The one time we did work together, and it was really funny. And like, you know, that was the only time we worked together in years before that, right? But then we get put into the group. I replaced Sawyer Fulton in Sanity. He had a terrible injury. He tore his pectoral muscle right off the bone, I believe.
Yeah. I think so.
And he was out for a long time. So Sanity had just started, and they were like, Damo. So, you know, it was a blessing and a curse, because I really liked Sawyer, really hated, you know, replacing him. But, you know, it was my chance to live out my dreams in WWE. So it's one of those double-edged swords where you feel like a dick, but you're also like, yes.
And Sawyer's doing all right now. He's doing well
great
in Impact just now.
Listen, like, he adores wrestling, and he got recruited as an amateur wrestler. He was actually a really successful amateur wrestler.
Wow, really?
And he got recruited by Briscoe, Gerald Briscoe. And at one of he got recruited because he had dyed his beard blonde like Hogan, started doing all the Hogan stuff after winning a fight. You know, and I respected it. Like, and listen, it was so funny. Like, I found out later that he actually wrestled. You know, Tucker Knight was one of the other guys who was.
That's right. Yeah. He had a great amateur background.
They actually fought each other and stuff in college, which I think is really cool. Like, you know, when you find out like there's like 500 colleges, so the fact that two of them fought each other is actually really, really impressive.
It's crazy.
And anyway, you know, so I replaced Jake. He's a lovely fella, and he's doing really well now, which is great. And like, you know, I'm working with Nikki, and it's so funny. Like, I originally, you know, I remember not arguing, but like having conversations with the staff, you know, like, how's Damo meant to be in this? And they're like, oh, you need to be crazy and whatever else. And I just wasn't. I didn't think that was the right thing to do. And I eventually, you know, I actually took Hunter aside and said, how do you want Damo to be? And he says, well, I don't want you to be crazy. I want you to be stoic, because all the rest of them are going to be crazy, and you need to be the big hulking guy. And I found that a lot easier than going and kicking turnbuckles and stuff like that, because that didn't feel natural. I didn't want to be a like for like replacement to Sawyer. Yeah. Because, you know, I thought he did a great job. I thought he looked great in the role. And I didn't want to be a like for like, because I wasn't. You know, I'm not him at all. You know, he was something entirely different. So, being told, okay, you're the stoic one, and like the beauty was then all the producers, everybody backstage got sent an email saying, this is how we want Killian presented. And that helped a lot, because, you know, you get a lot of different information from different people at every show you go to.
Excuse me 1 second. Hello.
I was not ready for you to be dressed like Super Mario.
It's Mario. It's Mario.
Not had my snack. Well, I will come through and get your snack. Go and get ready for your swimming. Good night.
Where'd you get the info from? It's been a hell of a run. But you both talked about that. I mean, you both work in these creative industries, and people don't understand, like, certainly when the pressure of you got to do this good, or you fuck up. Reputations can get, you know, good or bad can get around, but if you thrive, it goes well. I mean, certainly Paris, in your job, certainly, I mean, there's a visual representation of how well you've done or not. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on you to get those moments, especially as it's real time. It's not like, you know, on TV where we go, cut, right, we'll do it again. Particularly with the live performance, it's going to be a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I mean, there is less pressure from what I do to what Erik does. So Erik has, like, you know, 80,000 people at some time just listening to his mix. If I miss a shot, you don't know. Yeah. But I do, and I put a lot of pressure on myself, and I rarely miss the shot. But yeah, it is weird, because there's also the perception of what the artist sees themselves like. And if they're like, oh, did you get when I did this? And I'm like, did you do that? You know, sometimes. But then sometimes I go, yeah, I got you, dude. Don't worry about it. And then and those are the nice moments where you're like, I know what I'm doing. I got everything covered. But sometimes there's stuff that goes on and you miss it, and you're like, man, I need to be on it some more. But a lot of people don't know that you messed up. But for him, he could mess up, and people would know.
Yeah, it's like, nobody knows I exist until something goes wrong. And then everybody knows I exist. But on the artist side of it, what's really funny is what I've noticed is the artists want Paris or any photographer video, they want them to capture everything. They're looking for a documentary, and then they know that that through editing and whatever, she's going to present them in the best possible light.
Yeah.
On the other side of me, like I'll go back and I'll talk to the artists after the show, and my experience is from a fan perspective, and like I've always likened it to the band trusts me to recreate or to represent them in the best possible light, and the audience trusts that I have at least as good a taste in music as them or better, and we do, and I do. But then something happens on stage. Like I'll see the greatest show I've seen in a while. I've seen the guys on fire, and I'll go back on stage. I'm like, oh my God, that was great. And I'll see a bunch of sad faces because of one little thing that nobody in the audience noticed, and I caught, but it didn't matter to me because it's this series of moments of over an hour and a half, 2 hours that the artist will just focus on, and they can't get out of their head. And then I learned a long time ago that live is this beautiful thing where, and I've translated it to the artist, like these fans just got something completely unique.
Yeah.
They don't care that you forgot the words, or they don't care that you slipped. They don't care that a string broke. They're jazzed that they got something that the people in the next town aren't going to get. Glasgow just had a unique show that London will not experience.
Yeah, yes, God, 100%. And certainly in terms of what you're both almost representing the love and the passion of the fans from two very different positions. We've got the visual position from Paris, obviously, and yourself from the sound side. Paris, you talked very quickly there about how the artist sees or perceives themselves. Silly question first, then a sensible one. Mm-hmm. How many guys have you had going, whoa, that I look terrible in that, but there's a real issue of like, well, no, that is kind of how you actually physically look. I am not a miracle worker. Have you had any issues like that? No names, of course. Well, it
was like the other day when you took a picture of me and I said, oh, I look fat. And you said, because you are.
Listen, we've all got a bit of lockdown luggage. Let's all just settle down. Have you had any situations like that, Paris, or are you?
For sure, yes. I mean, how we look in the mirror is a lot different from how we look when we're photographed. And this is the thing: these people are photographed all the time by a bunch of different people using a bunch of different gear, right. And it definitely can mess with how you look, honestly. Like if you use a 24mm lens as opposed to a 100mm lens, it's totally different. I sort of, when I start a tour, I see what the insecurities are, honestly, and I do not highlight them. It is pretty simple. It's what look on their social media. This is what you think you look like. This is how you think you look the best. That's what I'm going to do. Yeah. And that's that. If they have double chins in some shots, they're not going to be in the folder that I, and editing is like, 50%, 80% of good photographers, if you show 100 shitty photos and one good one, or you just showed the good one, that's the difference between you being a good photographer and a bad photographer, So, yeah, there's definitely, oh, I look horrible in that. What's wrong with you? That has happened for sure. And then those photos, now that I know your standard, will never be seen again. But hundreds of them will be taken, but you will not see them.
You will not see them. That's they're not even. They don't even make it near the artist.
No.
Like, oh my God! I took one picture and it's amazing. Look how good you look. Look how good you look. But in terms of taking over to the documentarian side, congratulations to me for getting that one out. In terms of that side of it, I mean, like you say, you're telling a story from a different place. There's the story of the concert, but then the documentarian side of it is almost the fan, if you like, going inside the performer's head and in the performer's life. So we're telling a very different story. How have you found that? I mean, obviously you've worked with, I think last time you were in Glasgow, I think it was Limp Bizkit you were working with over here, which is still a huge name, one of the biggest bands in the world. How did you find that side of it? You mentioned earlier about it's not necessarily your favorite thing, but you enjoy doing it because it's a challenge. But how do you find that side of it going on the road and trying to get the little nuances? We're still keeping the theater and the magic alive.
Well, it's weird because there's two things. Like, there's shooting for social media, and that's really what my job has turned into now. And then there's, when I started in 2010 with Blondie, like, not a lot of people were doing that. You know, I mean, there were tour photographers, but there wasn't, like, the stuff I was producing wasn't going out online. Like, definitely not at that point. And I don't even know, even when I was with Godsmack in the beginning, it wasn't like a everyday sort of thing. Like, I would give them pictures like every once in a while, you know, because we were just building for back catalog. It wasn't like this constant, you know, stream of information as we have now. So it's two different things, and I'm sort of shooting two different ways. Like, there is that documentary sort of thing where I shoot it where it's real, and sometimes they don't look great, and that's the stuff I love that I don't know if anyone will ever see, unless the band is into it, you know. And it's the same thing with Limp Bizkit. I was just shooting for me, which was awesome. So back then it was great, and now it's kind of morphed into I'm shooting for the fans, and that's still great too, but it's just a little bit more of a polished sort of thing.
Right.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, after you.
Oh no, go ahead.
Oh, no, because I was going to say, obviously, the progression of social media in the last decade, is even the last couple of years, even the last 12 months, is just crazy how much now is out there and how much is being digested by the fans. So you had to make that movement to create stuff for social media. So were you just naturally learning to once again tell the story in a different way?
Yeah, it's slightly different, and it's there. And some people want a polished version, and some people want the real kind of stuff. Like, I know Sully from Godsmack, like, he was getting in I was filming, and it was pre-production for a tour, and he was getting in an argument with our monitor engineer Skitch. And like, something wasn't right, so I stopped filming because it was awkward. I was like, okay, I don't need to film this. And he goes, you got to film this stuff. And I was like, you're yelling at him. And he's like, yeah, but this is real. This is what I want you to get. And I was like, oh, okay. So that sort of really makes my job a lot easier, because there's a sense of, okay, this is a cool thing to photograph. Okay, this is not a cool thing to photograph. And that intuition is very difficult to decipher just from band to band, to person. But yeah, with Godsmack, he just wanted me to film everything. So that kind of alleviates my stress about having a camera out or not, which is cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely, it's different for everyone, and it's cool. I like documenting in general. So the more I have access, the better.
And that communication, that trust building up with bands and with artists, it's not something that can be created. It's something it's quite natural. It's a spark, really. Them building up the trust in you, and you've got to work with, like you say, mentioned all the bands, all the way from Godsmack all the way around. Was that something that you thought about in those early days? It's like, I'm going to build up a rapport with these guys naturally, or was it a job? You've mentioned a couple of times as we've been chatting that it's always been fun for you. Yeah, it's important that it always seemed fun. Was that an aspect of it that you thought would happen, building up this natural trust?
Yeah, it was weird. I never thought it, because I started with my family. So, you know, and you know, when you meet someone, if you're kind of going to get along or not. And it's sort of, it's that you have to be comfortable to a point, but you also have to realize that this is a job. Yeah. So it's, and then you're also living with these people. So it's like a whole clusterfuck of stuff that you have to sort of balance. And it's a very specific skill, I think, that you do develop. Like, I don't think you're just going on tour and you're friends with everyone and they are inviting you into the bathroom with them, you know? But I mean, it's definitely a build, and it gets better as the years go on. Yeah. But you definitely have to, your personalities have to go together, or else it's awkward and weird. And I've never really had that where it was like super awkward and weird. I think that people feel like with my personality, they can trust me, and they know that I'm not going to just like release something that they don't want released or something like that. And I think that's huge.
But this is what I wanted to talk about. How did you find keeping that balance? Because why you didn't withdraw from wrestling, there was definitely a gear shift change. How did that come about, and when did that point reach where you went, these two can work side by side? I just need to find a way of doing it. How did you do that?
Yeah, it's very, very, very hard. It's a fear that I've got just now, and a fear that I spoke to Hannah about before we went into having another child. And obviously now that I'm full time, I can't take a step back. You know, now I'm at that point where I can't go, oh, I'll do the odd show here and there and just keep my kind of name in the hat. That can't happen. So yeah, I think around 2012, when I was probably around the time of that match we just spoke about, and things were really kicking off, and I was doing really well everywhere, and I was starting to gain really, really good momentum. My son came along, and I think there's a big concentration on and support for postnatal depression for women, but I just don't think it's there for men. And I didn't know it was a thing, to be honest. And I wanted to be the best father I could be. My dad was an alcoholic. He wasn't the best father. He tried, but he just couldn't manage. And he passed away when I was very young. So for me, when I had the opportunity to do the complete opposite to him and give somebody a child a chance in life and support them and be there for them, I had to give it 100%. And I tried over the years to make that balance happen, but it just didn't. So I took a step back from wrestling. I did what I said and kept my name in the hat, doing the odd show here and there, and concentrated on the baby. That was really hard. I was very, very depressed at the time. I gained a lot of weight again. It was a hard time for me. But as the baby, you know yourself, as the baby gets older, things get easier. Once you get through that sleep deprivation stage, and I think for me personally, once you could compromise with them, once you can say, if you please just do this, if you just be quiet, I will give you this in return. Being a father becomes a lot easier, you know. So I managed to find that, and I think that again, another point with Noah, that turning point for me was around the time when he went to go to WWE, because he asked me to join him in his last match in ICW. And it was a reminder for me. It was a reminder of that match, that My Channel match of, I had 10 minutes with him. I was Andy Wilde. I wasn't the depressed Andrew Inch. I got to be Andy Wilde again for 10, 15 minutes. And within a minute or so, whilst I wasn't the best me by any means, I thought, shit, I'm pretty good at this. Even on my worst day, I'm pretty good at this. So
I remember that match, Noam's farewell match, and you guys tore the house down. The house down. There was a sellout of the monitor. People were like, "Oh my god!" I would watch that again night and day. They were quite sad in a lot of ways that Noam was leaving, but then you were here, and like you say, you were round about that period. You were kind of in and out of ICW. So was this a reflection of where you were at that time?
Definitely, it was that time. I was ready to come back, but I was also at a point where I was ready to go. I found so much pleasure in being a father and being a family man, and I looked at wrestling, and whenever I thought about wrestling, I became quite anxious and upset, and it's because I couldn't present myself in the way I wanted to, because I'd got very out of shape and I wasn't confident, and I wasn't confident in my ability, and I think around that time it was like I could go either way, and then I had that match with Noam, and I'm like, geez, here. On my worst day, I'm out of breath a minute into this match, but I can still do a good 10 here with notably one of the best wrestlers ever to come out of this country, who's just about to sign with the biggest professional wrestling organization in the world. That's got to say something. If I really get my head down again, if I go 2010, 2011 concentration and whatnot again, I could probably do something here. And then everything's kind of skyrocketed from there, really.
Certainly, because I remember the next match I think we saw you in that was a marquee match, was the Zero G Scramble match. I think off the top of my head, I want to say Mark Coffey won it, but I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, I think he did, yeah.
I think Mark did. But that was like it felt like a more full-time return to ICW. And that was when we started seeing the dad bod god, the Stovey Superman. I know wrestlers have monikers all the time, but these phrases kind of mean more to you, because you'd been Andy Wilde before, you'd been, the Lucha Killer, you'd been all these, but these monikers meant something else to you. Were they almost like, when you go in your auntie's house and it says live, laugh, love, were they something to really kind of fire you up? what did they mean to you, those monikers? Because there was a real connection, and you'd always been over with the fans. It's a wrestling term. If anyone doesn't understand, there'd been a connection, just in case there's anyone that doesn't get that. But there was a whole new connection between you and the fans at that time.
Yeah.
You think because you'd been quite open about your story, which, hey, everyone's got bad times. You all have, depression, mental health issues, or maybe just a couple of bad months, whatever. Do you think that just made a different connection with the fans for you?
Definitely. I think I was trying to, when I first came back, I was trying to reclaim the past. I was trying to get back down to being a cruiserweight, be the kind of, young up and coming cruiserweight. And it was Hannah that said to me, like, my partner, she said, look, you're a big, good looking dad now. Just accept it. Just, she's like, I don't know anything about wrestling, but why can you not just be the dad? Like, there's so many people in the crowd, surely, that can go, oh, I used to be in shape, and now I'm kind of, I'm just kind of a big kind of dad bod, but I can still go, and I've got the pal that doesn't have kids who's really successful, but that's okay. Like, he's doing his thing and I'm doing mine.
Yeah.
And and I think that connection came from there. I think I became the everyman. I became the guy I think people looked at me in the crowd and thought, do you know, if I got my head down for 6 months, that could be me. Yeah. And I think there's a lot to be said there, but I'm just out of reach. I'm just far enough for them to go, fucking hell, Andy's strong. I could do that. And then I pick up Damo and throw him over my head, and they're like, all right, maybe I can't. Or I lock up with Wolfgang, and I don't get pushed back the way. And there's a lot of things where they can go, I could do that, and then they go, oh, maybe it's just out of reach. So maybe he's our guy. Maybe he's representing us. And that, like you said, was a massive, massive turning point to just embrace the fact that, pull the trunks up a little bit higher, man. You know what I mean? That's all you need to do. You're a big lad, you're a big lump, wrestle like it, So it was a massive turning point for me, and a big, big confidence boost.
And the thing is, like, you have, like you say, you've completely changed your training. I mean, I've seen the video. I mean, you're such an inspiration. As somebody that has to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go and do the radio, I see the workouts. Even when you were doing when you were doing the job at the car dealership, when you were running a wrestling school, you were back training. I'd see the videos you were putting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, pulling sleds. Just a huge inspiration to so many people. And
I appreciate that.
But was that something you wanted to? You got the message out there, but then the training took a shift. I mean, like you said, you were always fast. You were that big guy that could throw. And trust me, fans, if you get an opportunity, check this man throwing Damo around, who's 23 stone or something. He's a big lump of a boy, and you're popping the hips and throwing him over. But you started doing strongman training. But it's funny because, like, I'm a big World's Strongest Man guy. I watch it every Christmas like everyone else. I absolutely love it. But seeing you doing like Atlas, the Atlas training, but so you're not the big hulking guys that they always have on there. You've got the power, you've got the strength. You're the guy you're the Tom Tolson of that lineup. Do you know what I mean? You're that little bit slimmer, a little bit leaner. So you're combining it all into a package. Was this something that you went, right, that's what I want? I know you talk about the dad bod god, but you're training in a completely different way. How did you go about making that transition?
Yeah, I mean, I saw a gap in the market as well. There was a lot of, I looked at the scene. So when I had that match in Miami and I started to gain my confidence, I started looking at the scene and thought, I need to stop trying to be that, because there's new up and coming guys that are better looking, faster, and better shape than me. They don't have my experience, but that doesn't matter because that's that genre. So what do I need to do? Where's the gap? So I looked at the gap, and there was a big gap for like either a good sized mid card guy or a super heavyweight top card guy. And I was like, I could be that super heavyweight guy, because if I could keep my conditioning, I comfortably can put on weight. I mean, I look at a carbohydrate and put on half a stone. It's a horrible curse to have. But I thought I could do that. So I actually spoke to Alexander Dain, who's a wrestler who wrestled in ICW as well.
Yep.
Who was a conditioning coach, a long-term friend of mine, just said, look, can you help me out here? I know what I want to do. I just don't know how to achieve it. And he programmed me pretty much from them moving forward. And I just got, there was, like you said, there was times I was training at 5 o'clock in the morning and pulling 200 kilo off the ground for reps, and there was people coming in you know, as I was leaving and finishing my final set, like a gentleman called Stephen Cherry who owned the gym, and he'd walk in, he'd be like, "Fucking hell, like where do you find the passion?" And I was like, "I honestly don't know," you know, because I was getting up at 5 so that I could train till 7, so I could get back to, so my missus could go to work and I could watch the Wee Boy until she got back, so then I could go to work, so then I go from work to the training school, and then, you know, so you know yourself, it just becomes like every part of your day kind of thing. But I just knew in my hearts in that match, and I still hold that, and I think that's why I'm still pushing forward, is I know that if I can just get it all to line up, which I feel like I'm finally am, if I can get it all to line up, I could sign a contract with a major company. I just need it to just, it needs to happen. I think tonight, if I can beat Damo like tonight, I don't know how people can deny me, because I'm in shape, I look the part, I carry myself well, and if I can beat a top world-class heavyweight wrestler, you can't really deny me much more. You know?
Well, but one of the things is that I've noticed about all your work and other interviews that you had is the amount of work you put into sort of learning even other instruments and other elements to bring in to the work you were producing. Like, really, it's learning the inside out of things.
Yeah.
Does that helped you as a producer? Because that's a phrase that people, I think, in certainly much lower levels of music, like to throw around is the phrase producer. But in terms of creating with someone in a collaboration, was that something that was important to you, really knowing the ins and outs, the nuts and bolts of everything?
Yeah, because so joining up with Limp Bizkit, like those guys were already 12 years into their career, I want to say.
Yeah.
So like, I didn't want to, you can't sound like an asshole and not know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? These guys that sold 40, 50 million records. So like, so you got to learn the shit, you know? It's just like any jazz musician, you can walk into a jazz session, and if the guy's not on beat, and you can't hang, you know? So it's just one of those things. You gotta learn everything to be able to keep up with everything.
Be ready. Be ready to kind of take the opportunity. So in terms of you coming to work with Limp Bizkit, one of the most iconic, biggest bands on the planet today, and probably across the last 15, 20 years, like going back to the wrestling side of it. I mean, we all remember the Undertaker coming out to Roland, and it gives me chills even now, man. Was knowing the rep they had at the time for being as big as they were, even on that ascent to the status they're at now, was that intimidating for you anyway, or did you find it as a challenge?
You know, it's funny because now I think back at it, or I talked to somebody, like I talked to Lee yesterday, and just the whole time I was like, it feels like the guys who you are and those guys are two different people. You know what I mean? So I never saw them as like famous, if that makes sense.
No, yeah.
But like it was like those guys were avatars of a different time, you know, with the red hat and Wes is up, right? You know, the makeup he was doing after Chocolate Starfish is so intricate, and so it felt like just different dudes. Like I didn't know those guys, I knew these guys, you know.
Yeah.
I never really got intimidated, and they really made me feel comfortable and welcomed me in too. So it was very easy, you know.
So in terms of developing the work that you wanted to do with them, and even with the other people you're working with, of course, what was some of the early discussions of what you guys wanted to do? Because again, it's another evolution in their sound with bringing you involved.
Right.
What was it you were looking to do with them, or them with you, I should say?
It was I remember having talks with Fred about that, and he's like, you know, anything you contribute, and you know, just make it your own. Don't make it the same thing. Don't try and do what Lethal did. Don't try and do what anybody else did, you know.
Right.
So I feel like I did do that in some things, and like I did that live more than the studio, because in the studio is usually like just jamming, you know, and then just finding it. So like for a keyboard player, somebody who's a sound designer, that's the worst place for us, is because you know, I need 30 minutes on one sound or something like that. Well, these guys are already like got the fucking song rope mapped out. So, but you know, so I paid more attention to it live, doing just playing weird shit. You know, I played the first couple shows. I basically played what Lethal would play, and then after that, I was like, after having talks with Fred a couple times, he's like, make your own and do like this, and I was like, oh, okay. So, and I'm more of a Lethal's a turntablist, and I was more of a like EM DJ. So I was like, how can I integrate that style into Limp Bizkit versus being a turntablist? So I'm horrible at scratching. I'll tell the world right now. But so a lot of the scratching I did live, it was stuff that I did in the studio, and I put on sample pads because I didn't want everybody to be like, well, the scratching was better last night than it was tonight, or, you know, or have that comparison. So I was like, I can make this the same show every night on my end. The only thing that's different is going to be the interludes. So, and I brought a lot of smarter technology to Limp Bizkit. Lethal's rigs were 2,500 pounds each. He had 2 rigs. He had the one that faced the crowd and then the one that faced John. I took everything and condensed it into a backpack.
What? Yes. Yes.
So,
well, I was going to ask about that actually, in terms of a couple of things really. Obviously, as a musician previously, you'd had experience with live work, but making that jump to what Limp Bizkit were doing in front of the you know, the big halls, the big arenas, and what have you. How did you find that transition from going on the road with a band like Limp Bizkit, the stuff you'd done previously?
First couple shows were a heart attack. I was scared to death. So the first show I did, I don't remember where it was. I think it might have been Lisbon, maybe. So I was behind the curtain. I didn't play on the stage. They just had me play off, you know, like a Slipknot situation, just play it off to the side. And then they decided, they're like, fuck that sucks. Put them on stage the next night. And I was like, oh, fuck. You know, so the next one was that Rock Lisboa show, 2012. And then the next show after that was Brixton Academy.
Oh, nice.
And I was fucking shitting my pants the whole time. Like, I thought I was going to have a panic attack. And after the first or second song, Fred comes up to my riser. He's like, take a deep breath, relax. Everything's going to be fine. He just kind of talked me down off the ledge a little bit. And I was like, all right, I got this. And then I chilled out after that. So, and then I started drinking a little bit on stage. That helped.
Oh, well, that was fairly to the edge of that. The only reason I'd ask is because I know people that had worked in the sound side of it, and it's completely different. I mean, if there's much more pressure on you because you're facing the crowd there and then, but making that mistake or making that error, which is antagonizing, but once you got comfortable in the role and you started hitting the role, did you hit your stride with it?
Oh yeah, I think so. I think after that first year I had some bumps and bruises, but after that I think I had it figured out and it was all good, you know. So there was I'll tell you a funny story. So there was this 2012, we're playing the somewhere in Amsterdam, like this church looking place, and and we're talking before and we're talking about interludes, and Fred's like, all right, anytime you hear me say party song on the mic, I want you to play this interlude, which was like DMX or Method Man or something, right? So I was like, all right. So we're warming up, getting ready to play Nookie, right? And you know, with the long intro, and then Fred goes, drop that party beat. So me not thinking like drop the Nookie beat, I was like, oh, he wants the interlude now. That's weird. So I played the interlude, and both him and Wes just stopped and looked at me like, give me that like crooked head dumbass fucking look, and I was like, oh, I just fucked up bad. And like I played it off and like went back to Nookie, and we all kind of laughed about it. But it was like after that, I was like, fuck, I really got to pay attention. Like I was so I was so nervous that whole tour. and that mask was uncomfortable that Wes made, that skull mask.
Yeah.
So that's pretty funny.
One of the cool things about certainly the work we've done as well with Limp Bizkit is the theatrics of it, because it's a complete product. I'm taking nothing away from bands that are just on and it's just them, but bringing elements of your sound into it as well.
Yeah,
really bringing that theatrics. Is that something you like? Bear in mind we've mentioned the theatrics of pro wrestling at least twice in this now.
Yeah.
Is that something you dug as part of what they were doing?
Yeah, I loved how unique it was and how raw it was. You know, I did a couple of tours with Slipknot.
Yeah.
And I just filling in on a technician because you know, guys had a family emergency, needed a tech last minute. So, and they were so more like, I feel like Slipknot operates like a Broadway show versus because they have so many people that work for Slipknot. Like I was meeting people. I was on that tour for 2 weeks. I met 3 new people every day that were on that tour. You know,
oh really?
Ran into an old friend of mine the last day of the tour who was on the tour the whole time. I was like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "I'm on this tour." He's like, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "I'm on this tour too. Like we're going home to the airport." And he's like, "So anyway, Slipknot's a big operation." You know, and then us were I think we're 17 people, full crew,
right?
And we all ride together and hang out together, and you know. So everybody knows what everybody's supposed to be doing at all times, and it's more of like a like a football squad versus a production. Like everybody just all right, go.
Yeah.
So we all know.
You have that in these tours as well because you've got everyone's got each other's back as well, and you end up getting your road buddies. Even though everyone's traveling together, you end up having your road buddies. One thing I could say about Slipknot is I actually did a tour with ICW, and again, this isn't me then giving up, but we did we might have even been at the Brixton Academy. We did 3 dates, and in the other room was a Slipknot tribute band. I'm not even joking, called Not Slip. Like it's not even clever. It's not even clever as a tribute name. It's not even clever. But I kept calling they're not fans of mine. Because I'd ended up calling them, I think it was cock slip 3 days in the trot, and they did not find it funny at all, man. They did not find what was the bike you were cutting about on in those days? I know you said you won your first race when you were 18. What was the first bike you got that you actually, got to grips with?
I was probably 3 or 4 year old when I had my actual first bike, and then probably I had loads of different bikes. I'm flat out now trying to find, because they were quite rare, a couple of them. And I'm flat out now trying to find bikes the same so I can do them up like my first bikes and stuff. And but yeah, so when I was 15, I probably had like younger than that, I probably had like a KX80 and stuff. And then I went straight to riding mini motos for a year, and then went straight on to a 600, which was like a Yamaha R6. So yeah, took quite big jumps early on to get there, and I was only racing in Ireland for probably 2 years, and then I went to England and raced there and won the British Championship on my first year. So I've pretty much been fucking blagging my way through life from there to now. So if you would be so kind and not tell anyone,
I'll cut all these bits out. And if anyone's watching these bits of me saying I'll cut all these bits out, you'll know full well how lazy I am. But we got it. In terms of winning that first race, was that when? So you've said to the teacher, "I want to be a motorcycle. I want to be a motorcycle racer."
Yeah.
That's what I do. Was that it? You think this is going to be my career, or is this fun? And I
think honestly, from that age, I just really didn't want to get a job. So that was as good a motivation as anything, I think. But I just love doing it. Do you know what I mean? And that's still the factor now. Oh, we've got a guest.
Oh, hey. Hiya.
Could be yours. He's got the ginger.
I was about to say he is not a million miles away from my wee boy. Looks, he's not a million miles away at all.
This might be your daddy on the TV. Is it?
Probably a distant uncle.
We want some.
Probably.
We want some. What's that? You get paid welfare money? No. What is it?
Is that what it is? Child benefit?
Child benefit.
Something like that? Alimony? No, I can't even remember.
Are you going to send your dad
bless.
an invoice? Huh?
Bless.
We'll get you an invoice in the post, mate.
How old again? 3? Little one's 3?
Yeah, he'll be 3 on April Fools. So
there you go. 3. There you go. Hiya, pal.
He's saying hello.
Hiya.
He's not quiet at all, so I don't know.
No, I can tell it.
But yeah, so honestly, I love doing it, and I just thought, well, if somebody can make a living out of doing this, well, why can't I have a crack? And to be honest, where I come from, like this, it's not like a motorbiking place or anything. There's no really other motorbike racers from there.
Yeah,
it's like a farming community. Do you know what I mean? So it couldn't be any further from, what it was. But I suppose when you're that age, you think you can do, you think you could do anything. You see him, yeah. Hello. You're not shy.
Nah, feeling cocky now. It's every time I start talking, it's like happy to look at me, but as soon as I start talking. So, in terms of what you said, in terms of where you started progressing, being in that community, and people weren't bikers. So, where did the interest come from? Where was the first time you saw motorcycle racing and you went, I fancy that? Was it on the TV or was it biking magazines or was it anything?
It'll probably been both. So my dad was really into motorbikes and a few of his friends and stuff, but none of them raced. They were all in, like, they had a bike club and they went to watch racing, like the Northwest 200, the Ulster Grand Prix, all of that sort of stuff. And we used to even drive over to England to watch World Superbikes. So from a very young age, I got to see everything. You know what I mean? So I think I just looked at it and I thought, fucking hell, that is so cool. Do you know what I mean? These guys are awesome. What they're doing, so everything about it was just unbelievable. Do you know what I mean? So, and that's the funny thing. I still have they're friends now, but guys that were racing then, like Neil Hodgson and stuff. And I've stayed in Neil's house and stuff now in the Isle of Man, Evan, but I still look at him sometimes. I would never say this out loud, and I go, fucking hell, that's him, you know, like, and I'm like 30 years old. But when something happens when you're a little kid, that never ever leaves you. Do you know what I mean? Them feelings are all still the same. So sometimes when people come and ask me for autographs and stuff now, all I think of is still that. Do you know what I mean? There's still a little part of that little boy in me that thinks, fucking hell, them. And I see them people, and I know them all well and stuff, but I can't help but still get a little bit excited.
If you're signing an autograph for someone, are you ever thinking, is this guy going to end up having to stay at my house one day? You know, is it ever going to be the other way around? You never know with these things. But in terms of so we're 18, we're kind of feeling that things are going. You're going like, I can do this. I don't want a real job, but this is something that I'm good at. This is something I want to progress at. Where do you go next? Is it just a case of networking, or is it a case of training and getting better, getting sponsorship? How did you start progressing in the world of motor racing?
I think honestly, the big thing was leaving home and coming to live in England. I signed for a good team at the time, was Raceways Yamaha, and they were a professional team. And that was the biggest sort of turning point in my career. Do you know what I mean? I'd gone from pissing around with my mates and stuff and everything, and into being into like a proper training program and doing everything properly. But I think the biggest thing was I wanted it. Do you know what I mean? I come from a normal working class family. Do you know what I mean? So we couldn't afford to pay for different rides and stuff. So I knew that if I wanted to make it, I had to win races and stuff. So that was sort of the driving force, and that's always been the driving force. I think if you had money maybe to fall back on, it might have been a bit more relaxed, but I was sort of driven by that and needing to succeed pretty much.
I mean, I know there's certainly plenty of riders, I should say, that come from that working place background. So you really a testament your work ethic, shall we say, or to your working class background, would you say?
Yeah, without it. And I'm not, like, by all means, my parents give me absolutely everything I ever needed, bless them. Do you know what I mean? Especially my dad and stuff, like spent every penny he had on me, which was just a normal job. He was a tailor, do you know what I mean? So he no way he could afford to be doing what he was doing. So he was clearly sacrificing other things that I probably didn't know at the time, but I know now, do you know what I mean? Being an adult and having bills to pay. So I think that was a big sort of driving force. And then when I did start making a few quid at it or whatever, that was the first thing I wanted to do, was take him everywhere with me to sort of repay him for sacrifice and everything.
Oh, that's cool. How did mum and dad react to that when, you know, like even when mum gets the request for you to come and talk to the school? How did they react to it? Like, this is something for him. This is good. Were they excited for you?
Yeah, obviously. Do you know what I mean? Like I say, my mum sacrificed a lot as well, because obviously she mightn't have gotten any holidays or anything because my dad was spending all his money on me. So I think now they're obviously, my dad's passed away, but you know what I mean? Like, me and him were pretty much like best friends because of motorbikes and stuff, and my mum and I are very close as well, and my sister as well comes to watch all the time and stuff as well, and obviously she sacrificed a lot, do you know what I mean? Because she could have been kicking a fuss up when mum and dad were spending money and effort and time on me, but never did, do you know what I mean? So that was a massive thing that I'll always sort of maybe feel a little bit bad about as well, do you know what I mean, for that having to happen. But at the end of the day, I suppose at least they have come good and they haven't wasted it all as such.
Well, it's part of the journey, isn't it? It's part of the journey, but families are just amazing in these type of situations. Now, we've got to talk about, in terms of you getting on the road, getting the traction going, a couple of things. First of all, I don't think sometimes for the layman that sits at home and they watch motorcycle racing, I don't think they really do get how dangerous it really is. Like, you'll get your weekend warriors that'll get on their bikes and these type of guys. And I'm not criticizing anybody that does these type of things, but they just do not get how dangerous a sport it is. Have you had any bad injuries during your time, or have you always been quite lucky?
Do you want me just to list off what I've broken?
Oh no! If you've got a bunch of them, then go for it, mate. Go for them.
So, both feet, right ankle, right tib and fib, pelvis, groin, 4 vertebrae, tailbone, both collarbones, both hands, jaw. My brain was bleeding. Apart from that, I'm absolutely brand new.
Oh my God! And you said you're fibular as well. I didn't make that up.
I broke my tailbone and 3 tib and fib, and then my tailbone and 3 or 4 vertebrae at the bottom.
Oh, so it's not really that much. You just
when you have a fight with a wall, you don't come out on top. The wall wins every time.
Awesome episode. Thank you very much for tuning in. Got some really cool ones coming up for you. We can I tell you all the people we're talking to? Not quite yet, but we've got some interesting ones coming in mental health. We are going to be filming some new, funny, and I just think exciting content that we're going to be doing over the next couple of weeks with JJ and some of our bearded, broad brethren, which I'll be honest with you, I saw the words in my head saying that, but my mouth did not manage to get those out at all. And I'll make my money speaking, which is frankly ridiculous. Don't forget as well to join us February 20th for Braw Cast Live at the Dry Gate in Glasgow. As things stand, it's happening. You can grab yourself a ticket. It's going to be something to look forward to. I've been locked up over Christmas, which was shite. So you can join us then as well. We're going to be back with a brand new live episode next week. So I look forward to seeing you. That's all we've got time for on Broadcast. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening to this. Tag a friend. Tell one pal. And if you are listening to it, or if you're checking out, do us a favor, leave us a review, especially in iTunes. Leave us a review, 5 stars. I know you're good for it. And we're going to see you the next time on Broadcast. This is about what I have to try and pretend that I'm not going to look at the screen, but I'm going to have to look at the screen because I need to do this bit live. Because I'm a lazy man. Live, we're back at Drygate. We're going to see you then. Book a ticket, you prick.